Barbara, and I am presenting the Science of Mind chapters out of the book. I'm coming out of the book of Basic Principles of Science of Mind, 12 Lesson Home Study Course by Frederick Bales, Dr. Frederick Bales. And so what I'm doing is presenting a review of 6, 7, 8. Then I'm going to go over to 11. Okay, so let's just begin. First of all, I choose. That is the anthem for this entire book series. I choose. Why? Because whatever we choose, we end up getting. So we're reviewing chapter 6, which is the sense of authority, polarity of universal spirit and universal substance, each being the complementary of the other, or enhancing each other, and out of this relation all subsequent evolution or proceeds. Universal substance must be anticipated by universal spirit as a necessary result or effect of one's own basic or original universal aliveness. In other words, this is how God expresses itself. It expresses itself through us. And when we're happy, God is happy. That's what I'm understanding. Okay? Well, you say, well, what about if we sad? Well, God responds to us. So, what is it that's making you sad? What is the cause of the sadness? So once you understand, or once you're aware of what is the cause of your sadness, then you could be about the business of getting rid of the blocks that stand in the way of happiness. Okay? That's as simple as I can make it. Chapter 6, the foundation for authority. How thought impacts every cell in your body. Number 1, what is the foundation for authority? What is the definition of authority? The definition, in essence, is knowledge and belief. Authority comes through knowing. People notice authority in the way we speak. There is an inward sense of inner knowing and being and knowledge when one speaks based upon competence and knowledge. What bearing does this have on our attitudes toward the healing of the physical body? There is a great indwelling power and intelligence that heals by recognition of its presence. Speak with authority of what you know and what you have seen. What should be our attitude toward our physical body? Infinite is always working towards a balanced perfection. We should seek to work with the law, be open and faith-filled. Our body is already whole. God is always trying to express through us at the highest level. What extremes of thought defeat attempts to heal? The word but, for example. Every time we say but, and we're getting in the way of our goal. Whatever goal it is we're trying to achieve, I want so-and-so and so, but no. No more buts. Okay? There are no more buts. The but days are over. Okay? Other extremes of thought are a lack of understanding about the creative healing process. Okay? The creative healing process is basically simple. It is about, first of all, the creator. First of all, there are many schools of thought about how we got here. I mean, there are many schools of thought. So let's just take one basic premise and say that the creator that created us all had a process of making us. we'll just take this philosophy. Well, that creator, I'm sure it may have, no, I can't say that. So let's just say that what the creator did was it created us, and so the process of healing, it is within us. Okay, so we can tap into that creative healing process. And what is a process? Of course, we know a process is a series of steps. So we tap into and we become aware of what is the healing process. What is the process about? Well, we know, like I said, that we want to be in touch with the creative healing process. I don't know if I explained it, but there's 4 aspects. The third aspect of what thought defeat attempts to heal: failure to gain further assurance or confidence in one's abilities. Failure to gain further assurance or confidence in one's abilities. And number 4, the student fails to understand that the healing process involves the infinite thinker. The infinite thinker is God. Other extremes of thought which defeat healing is a lack of mental calmness. Number 5, explain the relationship of man's mind to infinite mind. Our mind is an extension of the infinite mind. We are a wave in the ocean of the great oceanic presence of the source of all there is. An extension means that we are part of the whole. We have been added to enlarge. It's like an extension cord. There is the cord to a fan. Well, the fan is in one room, and the socket, for whatever reason, is in another room. Okay, so we buy what's called an extension cord. Okay, so that extension cord allows the energy from the wall socket to go into the fan so the fan can work. So we are an extension of the One. We are an extension of God. What is the great significance of knowing this information? How does knowing this information help us? Since we are a part of that which is added, since we are that addition to make, since we are that addition that is to enlarge, our purpose is to enlarge God. The consciousness of oneness gives power. When we have the awareness, when we truly are aware of our power and truly are aware of our oneness, and that we are an extension of God, and once we know that and believe that, then our personality begins to revive. We have a higher level of awareness about ourselves. We begin to walk, not braggingly, but we have a higher dimension, a higher frequency of ourselves, more of an understanding of ourselves. Okay, so the consciousness of oneness gives us power. When the personality becomes disintegrated, when we are integrated, when our consciousness is integrated and whole, then we are at one with the source. But when we become disconnected, we're not actually disconnected, but when our thinking and our thoughts are disconnected, then we don't feel good. Our harmony, we feel sad, blue, depressed, and what have you. And so the personality becomes disintegrated, and this is because the person sees one of two things. We see that which we desire, and that is the infinite. And the infinite desires for us to have that which we say we want. Or we see and obstruction. Well, if we see obstruction, that on some level is a power that you believe in. And when we see that power of obstruction, then naturally the word obstruction means to block. So that obstruction is blocking our good. So then the practitioner or the one that's treating is to not treat you, but to treat the cause of the blockage. Okay? To treat the cause of the false belief. To treat the cause of the disintegration. Okay, so when we see an obstructing power, we can block the attainment. That does block our attainment of what it is we want. Okay, so just remember that our higher power does not recognize that. It doesn't recognize obstruction because it did not create obstruction. God does not create obstruction. God is about free flowing. It's about energy. It's about love. It's about harmony. Okay? So, when you believe, or when I believe, or whomever believe in obstruction, that's a false belief. And the work is getting rid of that false belief. Because there is only one power. And there is only one presence. And it's everywhere. There is no place where it is not. So if there's a false belief or if there's an obstruction, trust me, it's a false belief. Two entities cannot reside in one place. And there's only one entity. Okay? You can call it whatever you want, but it's one entity. Number 7. What are the values of transcendence? First of all, what is transcendence? Transcendence means to rise above, to transcend. And in this sense, we're talking rising above in consciousness. For example, let's just say you're having a conversation with someone, and then the conversation goes into a difference of opinion. Some people don't know what to do with a difference of opinion. Some individuals, not all, but some individuals believe that we all should think alike, have the same opinion, and when we don't have the same opinion, then ego sets in, fear sets in, and then there is an argument because the two people, because you don't think the way I think, or I don't think the way you think, so not you, but you know what I mean. So there's an argument. But we must learn to respect ourselves, to allow that individual to have their opinion. We have no idea what road or what experience they've gone through to have their opinion. All right. So as far as transcending is concerned, to live in a mental world so far above the level of our opponent, that person that we're disagreeing with or disagrees with us, to live in a mental world so far above the level of our opponent that there is no point of contact with him or her. Maybe because of your spiritual work you have done and are doing, no more communication. To have harmonious communication requires that which we call values of transcendence. Because of the work that they have done on themselves, that may mean that they have to let us go. So the work that we have done on ourselves may mean that we have to let them go, or him or her go, to release them to their highest good. So how do we do that? First of all, what's more important to you? To be right or to be happy? It's a very good question. Well, a value in forming your opinion of being right or being happy, it takes courage. It takes an attitude of authority. It takes the power of selection, selecting, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? And knowing that having a choice is power. It's power in having a choice. When we choose our greater self instead of our lesser self, we are meeting our problems by rising above them or transcending our problems. We have victory over our destructive habits. We have what's called freedom. Explain authority comes through knowing. And how can we gain a sense of authority in treatment? Well, we have something called the law of knowing. What is the law of knowing? The law of knowing is affiliated with the law of attraction. The universal law of believing and knowing. It is a principle of energy that states that believing in something does not mean that you know something. What was once truth in your life, or what you thought you knew to be true, no longer is. It simply means that when you have a goal or desire, you get very clear about it, and then you ask the universe to bring it to you. You ask the universe to bring it to you, and then you get out of your way so you can receive it. In theory, it is simply an action of getting out of our way. In actuality, getting out of our way is 75% of what blocks our desires from coming into fruition. So, having that said, let go and let God. There is something called a state of knowing. Knowing that you know. We know, then we know that we know, then we know that we know that we know. This is by Dr. DeMartini. There is a state of knowing that you know. And then there is a state of knowing you know that you know. There is a state of knowing, there is a state of knowing that you know, and then there's a state of knowing you know that you know. First, a state of knowing is the gathering of facts and intellect. The second, knowing that you know, is intuition. Then there is the third, knowing you know that you know, is inspiration. Also, knowing you know that you know means a high degree of certainty and of absolute knowing. Okay. How can we gain a sense of authority in treatment? They must have knowledge, power, and conviction of their ability. The student's treatment must be a statement of his or her beliefs and their knowing, because knowing is higher than belief. What is the difference between technique and consciousness? Techniques can be learned. Techniques are acquired or obtained through learning. Consciousness is a matter of growth in the cultivation, nurturing, and maturity of certain inward attributes and attitudes about yourself, such as developing your sense of authority. And that is the end of chapter 6. The next video will be chapter 7. Thank you.